A couple board members this morning, maybe only 4 of us.
Well, I understand. I got Linda, did Glenn say if he's going to be in court, if he's just going to be late, or is he just not going to be?
It looked like he was not going to be here because he has to be in court. He didn't say he would be late.
Okay.
Is that somebody's doorbell, or you guys hear that dinging?
I think it was my computer making some sort of notification. I don't know what. Probably letting me know I'm late for something. Or maybe my dog has figured out how to make a noise on the computer when he needs to go out because he's now whining at the door.
Who's our fourth?
Jim Hewitt should be.
Jim Hewitt.
Just some guy we picked up at the tee box.
All right.
I just shot him a text.
He said he's joining right now. He'll be on in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Anybody survive the horrible muggy day yesterday?
Pretty bad. I found that a good place to be was neck deep in the lake.
We had my daughter's graduation party out at the pavilion at Presque Isle, and you couldn't hardly breathe in the building with your mask on because it rained and the humidity was awful. Just It was ridiculous. There's Jim.
Hello, sorry, I'm late.
I think we're all, the mayor is going to be here. Call the meeting to order. Rich is not going to be here. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you ready? You've got a flag to look at. I pledge allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America.
Republic.
And to the republic for which it stands, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, we're getting some. Okay.
That's a little tough.
That was, yeah, that went all over the place. Okay, Linda, roll call.
Rich Rossway, James Randall,
Here.
Kristen Kembenzi, Dr. Brian Cherry,
Here.
James Hewitt,
Here.
Keith Glendon,
Here.
Glenn Sarka. Okay, roll call completed.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Support.
Okay, motion by Brian Cherry, support by Keith Glendon. Any comments from the public at this point? Agenda items only. Is there anybody in the?
We actually will need to do a roll call vote on approving the agenda.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, roll call vote.
James Randall,
Aye.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Keith Glendon.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-0.
Okay, comments. Is there anybody in the waiting room? Ellie?
There is no one in the waiting room at this time.
Okay. Superintendents report.
If we can back up real quick. Linda, do you have a statement that you need to read, or does that come at the last comment?
That isn't an agenda item, so it'll come in the second
Gotcha.
comments.
Perfect. Just want to make sure we didn't miss that. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take it from here for a minute anyway. My kind of back to school update as we look, Safe Schools Roadmap. I forwarded that. I should have forwarded that to you guys a little bit earlier than what I did. About a 60-page document, pretty detailed, that all districts are following. That was what the governor put out shortly after June 30th for the districts to start to take a look at what we may look like. Phases 1 through 3 are pretty much taken care of in the fact that they're all online. So developing your online plans for phases 1 through 3. Phases 4 and 5 allow for in-person, face-to-face teaching, as does phase 6, but phase 6 is essentially a return to normalcy. So we find ourselves in the UP as we speak right now in phase 5. But again, we as a district don't have any control over what phase we end up in. So that's left to the state and the governor. And we could be, by the time school rolls around, or even next week, we could be in a phase 4 or potentially in a phase 3. So going through and making sure we have adequate plans in place depending on the phase is key. So I've assembled a committee. We have about 28 folks, I think, on that committee to go through that Safe Schools Roadmap. As I've kind of shared, and you guys have seen a lot of what's out there, a number of regional surveys, some state surveys. What I'm seeing in most cases are majority of our parents, 2/3 to about 80%, and I'm not saying that's specific to Marquette, but again, regional, state, depending on who's doing the surveys, about 2/3 to 80% of parents are wishing for some form of face-to-face education, want face-to-face education. So as we look to develop those plans face-to-face, knowing that 2/3 to 80% of our parents want that, and desire it, need it. We know it's great for the socialization of kids. We know a lot of kids learn better in a face-to-face environment than they do online. Plenty of research out there, but we need to keep in mind that we need to approaching a face-to-face education platform that we're minding the health and safety certainly of all our staff and all our students is certainly a number one priority. And then closely following, I think, is a sustainability approach. We don't want to put families and students on a roller coaster of we're in school, we're out of school, we're in school. That may happen through the governor's plan. You could be in a phase 3 1 week, you could be in a phase 4 or 5 the next week. I haven't seen it jump around that rapidly, but I don't think there's anything that prevents that from happening. So, but we as a district don't want to put people on that roller coaster if we can avoid it. So looking at sustainability. So one of the approaches certainly that we took, I think, last week when we met as a committee, and we continue to, is honing in on that sustainability and probably putting some requirements in for face-to-face education that are pretty rigorous to start with. We can go back and certainly tweak our plans as we go. Once we put our plan in place, there's nothing to say you can't change that plan based on new data, new information that comes out tomorrow, right? So this is the plan that we intend to start with. But anything can change that plan, and the state doesn't have any stipulations in there that somebody has to come in and approve whatever those changes are. So one of the things, obviously, is working with our local county health department, working with our health service providers, local doctors, those types of things. We're going to be in contact with them throughout this process, weekly throughout this process. We have actually meetings set up with the county health department. So we'll be in touch and able to respond if need be, and tweak whatever it is that we're doing. But moving forward, coming up with a sustainable plan so it looks like we're protecting the safety and health of our students and our staff, so we can move forward with a sustainable plan. That is you guys saw yesterday or early last week. I'm sorry, it wasn't yesterday. Yesterday was the roadmap that I had forwarded you, but we're going to require staff and students to wear face masks, and that's going to be in classrooms and in common areas. We're going to do everything we can to promote social distancing, and we're going to take the steps to essentially try to avoid the spread of COVID within our buildings. We know we don't have control of people's actions outside our buildings. If 5 or 6 kids go jump in a car and lose the face masks or whatever they do socially outside of that, we can't control it, but we can control what happens when they get to our schools and to our buildings. So that face-to-face piece is all aimed at preventing the spread of COVID within our buildings. So we don't have to potentially completely close down the school system based on maybe some positive tests that happen outside our school system. And again, that's aimed at those folks, those 2/3 to 80% of folks that desire the face-to-face. And that's kind of what we're seeing now from the literally hundreds. Maybe we're even close to, well, we're probably still in the hundreds, probably not 1,000 emails, but we've had literally hundreds of emails, and most point to that direction that parents are looking forward to some form of face-to-face education to come back to in the fall. As we transition a little bit, that means we also want to address that third to 20% of families that don't desire to come back to a face-to-face educational setting, that because of health or whatever other reasons desire an online option. We'll have an online option, probably several online options designed for each level. So, a Moby Max or an Edgenuity for, our K-5, our 6-8, maybe a Michigan Virtual, which we've already been offering for years and years and years for high school students, that we'll be able to sign students up, keep them on a graduation track to meet our credits in graduation requirements, keep them on pace for graduation, even though they may opt not to come back for a semester or for the entire school year through those online options. So as we speak, as we look at that impact on enrollment, as I kind of move on down the list, currently we're just over 150 students who have signed up for that online option. As we get closer to school, and again, Linda's phone's ringing off the hook every day. We're getting literally hundreds of emails. That number is going to continue to increase. My guesstimate will be somewhere between 500 and 900 students will choose an online option for us at MAPS. So far, the legislature has not addressed that decline in enrollment. We are hoping to keep as many of those students registered through MAPS so we can get them that online platform and not lose foundation allowance. Obviously, as you guys know, if those families choose to go out on their own and choose a non-public school option, although I see even now the online are marketing themselves as being online public. I don't know how that works, but I saw a commercial for that yesterday. That would be certainly devastating to us as a district to not retain as much of that foundation as we can. Essentially would bankrupt us in 1 year if they didn't enroll through us. So certainly I tried to get that out early. A couple weeks ago that we would be offering those, and I think most of the parents that have contacted us are looking to register through whatever online options that we're going to offer our families. In that case, it is still likely to have a significant cost and impact to us as a district. Those programs are not cheap. To partner with those programs, there's some options that we may have that we can bring down the cost, but again, they're not cheap, and that could easily run us in the millions of dollars, depending on how many students elect for those online options.
Well, how much agility or flexibility is there in those agreements? I mean, if we get 3 months into the semester or into the school year and all of a sudden we need a massive pivot to online, is there a provision to be able to move kids into those online offerings that haven't enrolled at the beginning? Can we do it midstream?
The midstream pivot would in all likelihood happen with our own staff if we were to be moved back to a phase 3. Yeah. Our classroom teacher with those, and let's just say we end up with a class size average of 16 kids, right? Those 16 kids would move to online with that classroom teacher at that point. So I sent out a staff communication. We started those conversations last spring. Our staff will be ready to teach online if that's where the governor ends up moving us. So we'll be prepared to offer an online rigorous program. And to your question, Mr. Glendon, one of the elephant in the room, and I think some confusion a lot of parents have, is they looked at our spring online program, and a lot of parents, what I've heard is, hey, that didn't look very rigorous to us. That didn't keep my kid occupied. They're used to a 7-hour school day, and my kid wasn't busy for 7 hours. And so I think the biggest misnomer out there is understanding what that was set up and designed for. And it wasn't necessarily a MAPS thing, but when the state said, we're not going to require this for any student across the state in the spring, nobody has to participate. And again, we weren't allowed as a district to say, I'm going to move you ahead and not give you credit, or move some students ahead or not give other students credit for not participating. We couldn't do that. So under those circumstances, that wasn't as rigorous a program as what our teachers would have put together had that been mandated by the state, that this is the form of education you must all participate in. And that's where I think that communication gap, and I've certainly tried to dispel those things with parents and with communities, especially as we have more and more of these conversations daily with folks, is this will be different this go around. The state isn't going to give the leeway of saying you don't need to participate in school this year if we're going to be online. We're going to have to meet district credit and graduation requirements. Those will have to be rigorous, and we will move forward in our curriculum just like we would in a face-to-face setting. And that's something that we didn't really march forward. We didn't want to create a bigger gap. I don't know what the exact percentage was. What I heard last year was about 50% of our high school students participated, about 2/3 of our middle school students participated, and about 80% of our elementary students participated. That, though, if we had marched forward with a rigorous curriculum and moved kids forward, would have created tremendous gaps for us if we had done that. We will do that this year. We will move forward, and those students that don't participate would end up being students that end up failing those classes and have to face credit recovery and or a loss of graduation credits. That also, I might say, will impact those students that elect that online option. If students aren't successful online, those are going to be online 4-credit classes. They're going to need those to gain credit and gain graduation requirements.
Yes,
and
I don't want to go down
at all levels.
So I appreciate that, Mr. Saunders, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole completely on this, but the reason for the question was really that, in all likelihood, we're going to have some volatility in the coming year, right? And we may be forced to jump back and forth between phases. I mean, and I'm sure I'm not on that committee. I know we have board representation on that committee, but bottom line, I hope that we're looking at a plan, a contingency approach that says, well, we're going to have some kind of a response team that gets put in place so that kids who are struggling online have access to online mentoring, and we're going to have, a rehearsal of some sort, even if it's a tabletop exercise, to figure out which teachers move to what, and how are we going to respond when we get moved back to phase 3, if that happens, and so forth. So, I mean, I know I don't want to minimize the magnitude and the difficulty of all this, but I know I've heard a lot of parents asking those questions, and I don't comfortably feel I have the answers as a board member, and wondering what the timeline looks like for a simplified communication of, what is our plan and how are we going to make sure those things are addressed.
Thank you. So that moves me to my next point, which is board approved plan and timeline. So great transition. So the state says we have to have a board approved plan and timeline turned into them by August 15th. So I've asked for a special board meeting August 12th to approve our district plan. And to your point, and to really all the questions that we've had, literally the hundreds and hundreds of questions we've had as we outline and develop, this is going to be fluid as we continue to move forward. I don't anticipate even by August 12th having all the answers. I anticipate having the answers that we need for the state plan, which still won't have the level of detail that we'll need as we move closer to September 8th. But the big umbrella picture will all be in place and will need to be approved by our board on August 12th to turn into the state by August 15th. And again, these are all unprecedented measures that we face as a district, things that schools have never faced before. And we'll continue to hone in on all those details, put FAQs together. And again, I get questions, to be honest, every day of things. Oh, yep, we hadn't thought about that yet. We need to continue to now address that, add that to the list, and make sure that that we have answers and we have plans in place to meet whatever that criteria is that was asked. So that's where we're headed. We'll speed things up a little bit with the committee and moving forward. It's going to take still a lot of administrative and a lot of staff work to hone in on some of those details. We're looking at moving another PD day up to the beginning of the school year so we can do one of those walkthroughs, as you had mentioned. A walkthrough day going through what this may look like is going to trigger even more questions, which is essentially just going to be a little more than a week and a half out that we'll continue to tweak our plans as we go. And again, we may be tweaking these early into the school year, 45 days in, 60 days in. We'll hit those milestones and we'll take a look at what's working and what's not. And we'll be fluid and flexible as we move forward through this pandemic. So, again, a lot of work, a lot of effort going into it, and a lot more yet to come. I wanted to also touch base on COVID-related purchases as we go through, and this is a really generic list at this point of other things that we have to be considering as a district that certainly will have some significant costs. I was just putting together a spreadsheet the other day, and I'm glaring at my other computer here. Disposable masks. We come back in a face-to-face format. I'm anticipating just to start the year that we'll need about 40,000 disposable masks. Now, we're going to ask folks to mask up. We have that community group that's making several masks, but we know that those will be left on the table at home. They'll get, ruined at some point in time. Somebody will sneeze in it or something will happen. We'll need disposable masks. I'm figuring at least 200 per classroom to start the school year, about 40,000 disposable masks. About 500 clear masks. They're making clear masks now that our teachers would be able to wear, especially for our students that have any type of hearing issues, that they'll be able to read lips and see the teachers speak through clear masks. So at least 500 of those to start the school year. Another 100 face shields to start the school year. Anybody that's responsible for cleaning, anybody responsible for dispensing of food, many of our special ed teachers will all need clear face shields to be able to wear. We're looking at potentially purchasing UV cleaning machines to be as green as possible. We can go through it. It does, we found, take quite a bit of training. These machines do have their own hazards as far as the UV and what that puts out. So we're looking at UV cleaning machines. We're also looking at some of the more chemical-based, like the Clorox 360 cleaning machines. Just hand sanitizer. We bought a pallet of hand sanitizer the other day, 109 gallons of hand sanitizer, but we know that's not going to be anywhere near enough of what we're going to need for the the entire school year. Packages of wipes so we can wipe down desks and doorknobs and those types of things throughout the school day. About 1,000 packages of those. So we have an ongoing list. The amount of signage that we're going to need to put up in the buildings is going to be extraordinary. So signage is a big piece of COVID-related items. We're going to be adding to this list every day, but it is going to be substantial to not only order those things, but make sure we have them in place to start the school year. So there's a lot more that goes into this than just the plans that we put on paper. The other things that we're trying to take on are going to be pretty extraordinary as well. Last thing, go ahead.
Do you have an estimate at this point about, even a ballpark of where you are with that additional amount of product?
It's going to be substantial as far as the cost goes. Those UV cleaning machines, I think, are about $5,000 a piece. We'd need one for every school building. The Clorox 360 cleaning machines, I think, are about $3,800 a piece. 40,000 disposable masks. I know we have a bunch of sample masks coming in that we're going to look at to see what's the best, not just the cheapest, but what's the most durable disposable masks that we're going to need. Becky's going to put together the face shields for us and 3D print those and make those work. But, Deb could probably tell you what the cost was for the hand sanitizer. But no, in general, we don't have that total cost yet, Mr. Randall. But it's going to be substantial. We got about $39,000 from the state for COVID-related items, which won't put a dent in what we need to spend at this point.
Okay.
And again, so last one is just kind of a projects update. Is I kind of take on a facilities role, and we would give you projects updates as well. We've had a number of things happen. We just contracted with JP Electric. Over the course of last winter, we had some electrical go out at Sandy Knoll. The electrical was run underneath the slab, and through deterioration, rust, whatever, collapsed those electrical. So we didn't have electrical for 4 classrooms operating. They were able to patch that together. But we have to have that rewired from the box to the classrooms. So we are getting started with that. The Sandy Knoll wall just finished about a week and a half ago. That was damage done by we guess is a snow plow truck backed into that wall. I think about $74,000. That was covered by our set seg insurance, all but $5,000. But that project is now finished. The wall completely put back together. We have some AC unit issues again. We're waiting on a cost estimate. 2 of the 3 AC units at Bothwell are not working. We invested about 20 some grand in one of them last year. So that's on our current projects list. And then we still have our $800,000+ door project due to happen. That won't start until, I just got word, August 24th. So that was supposed to be a June and July project. And because of COVID and being able to order everything they needed to order, it continues to get pushed back. So what would be a project that would have happened during the course of a regular work day is now going to have to be an after school hours project. And it won't start till August 24th. I asked for the completion date. They're trying to put that together of what their new schedule may look like, and I have not received that yet. So so that'll be essentially a fall project now to get those about 56 different door units replaced around the district. Again, a lot of those were aging, but a big piece of this is also the security factor, where these will all be monitored doors now for us to be able to control. So that's all I had for you under my superintendent's report today.
Okay. Consent agenda. We have the minutes of the June 22nd budget hearing and regular board meeting, the personnel report, the financial report. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Here we have a motion by Brian, support by Jim Hewitt. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Linda?
Okay, James Randall,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Keith Glendon.
Yes.
Motion passes, carries 4-0.
Okay, new business. We're going to consider the acceptance of bid for bakery from Aunt Millie's, for dairy for Gilbert's Dairy, the pizza for Papa Murphy's, and for the upcoming school year. Have a motion to accept the bids as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian Cherry, support by James Hewitt. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll Linda, please take a roll call vote.
James Randall,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Keith Glendon.
You're muted, Keith.
My apologies. I was muted. Yes.
Oh, no problem. Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Okay, gifts and bequests. We have a donation from Lowe's of 500 K995 KN95 masks. These are very generous. Comments from the public. We do have anybody in the queue, Ellie?
There is no one in the queue right now.
Okay, we do have a letter that's going to be read. Linda's going to read a letter from someone that wanted this.
Okay, we did receive a comment from the public with a request to be read at this time from Diana Zumkowski from Marquette, Michigan. The time has come to end the use of a name that offends an important part of our community, a name that instead of uniting us in pride of our school has divided us. Why are we keeping a name that has become such a source of discord? It is time to retire the old nickname and choose a new one. This issue will never disappear until we do. It will be such a relief to have this behind us and to start healing and looking to the future. It will be exciting to let the students participate in selecting a new name and logo. The time is now. Remember, whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. Thank you for accepting my comment, Diana Zumkowski.
Okay, is there any other letters, Linda?
No, that was the only one I received.
Okay. Board member comments. Mr. Glendon.
Sure. Thank you, Bill, and all the staff and board members for all the effort that I know is going in over what would otherwise be perhaps a less chaotic summer around getting ready for what we're going to face here in a few weeks. So I know that there's a lot of burden on everyone. Anyway, thank you for that. Regarding the letter and the public comment, I know that we have received a lot of mail on that issue, and including at least one, as far as I know, credible comment regarding some ACLU action that could be coming. Today's not a real good day for us to sort of have that conversation. Looks like we have, we have a quorum, but we don't have everyone here. So I do look forward to us all having the opportunity to have that conversation that is long overdue, and put this to some kind of a resolution sooner than later. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Mr. Cherry.
Well, just good job, Bill and Deb and everybody on the work getting all this done. This is going to be a crazy year. Getting started healthy is going to be a key. The time commitment, the money commitment, the organizational commitment is just going to be intense. So thanks for all the work and keep it up. That's it.
Mr. Hewitt.
Nothing further at this time. Thanks.
Okay, my own comments. Thank you to the committee that's trying desperately to put this all together for the fall season. The odds of who can even calculate the odds of how it's going to happen, and thanks to Deb for all the financial calculations you've been going through to try and make some sense of this. We will be dealing with the question of the Redmond issue at some point in due time. We will not ignore it. We'll be moving ahead. I look forward to having that resolved. Guess that's all I have. Let's see, announcements and other meetings. August 12th, we have a special board meeting, as Bill pointed out, 9 o'clock a.m. The Zoom meeting. August 24th, there will be a regular board meeting at 9 a.m. and that'll also be a board meeting. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, do we want a roll call on that, Linda, or can we all just say yes?
You're able to just say aye to that since it's not an action item, really.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.